Welcome back, everyone, for a second time today. Oz here, and today I've got a compilation for you all. This one's of Am I the Asshole, so it's a good way to get caught up. I would also like to mention that this channel is brought to you essentially by Gamer Subs. Use code Oz at checkout. Every purchase made supports the channel directly, and I actually drink this. I can't recommend it enough for both their caffeine-free and caffeine versions. I haven't touched a single other energy drink since actually being sponsored by them. And that's my choice. That's not something they asked me to do. Anyways, sponsor spot aside, I hope you all enjoy this video. This one's brought to us by Aggravating Bat 314. Am I the asshole for being disrespectful and telling my parents good luck with that when they tried to ground me? Reddit has deemed this person not the asshole. We'll find out about that. I live at home while going to university, and I'm in my final year and I have a job lined up after I graduate. My parents have been charging me rent since I was 16. I have a small company that makes me about $60,000 a year. I started in high school. It is one of the reasons I graduated early from high school and why I got attention from recruiters. My parents said that since I was earning adult money, I could take in adult responsibilities. I thought that was fair, so I paid for all my own stuff starting at age 16. Not university, I got a scholarship. And the rent they charged me was minor, $300 a month. But I basically considered my room to be completely mine after that. I kept it tidy because I like it that way, but they had no say in when I cleaned it. I had control over when I did my laundry, other than to not do it at a time when I would disturb the family, for example 3 a.m., and I bought food for myself and ate when I wanted. They tried to say that I was separating myself from the family, but I saw it more as having my own schedule. This year for spring break, I went down to Mexico with friends. My parents were upset because they were hosting a big Easter family get-together. When I got back, they said I was behaving badly by not being around for a family gathering. I said it was my last spring break in university and that I was not responsible for their schedule. They said I was grounded, and I laughed and said, good luck with that. I went to my room and locked the door. They tried banging on it for my attention, but I'm done. My grandfather came over to talk to me later. He's the one who helped me get my company started, and he's always there for me. He said that I was rude to my parents when they were trying to be there for me, so I asked him how much rent he charged my mom when she lived at home. He said it was ridiculous to think he would charge his kids rent, and I told him that I'd been paying rent for 4 years. He went into the house and I heard a fight. When he came out, he said that I needed to treat my parents with more respect, but that since they are my landlords, they do not have a say over how I spend my time. I'm avoiding my parents for now, and I'm renting on Airbnb right now until I graduate. I took everything that was important to me, and I left $600 for the last 2 months I had planned on being there. They keep calling, but I am currently getting ready to move for my new job. I don't have the energy to deal with them. This is the direct consequence of the parents' actions. They taught their child how to be a full-grown adult, how to act within the area. They very clearly distinguished themselves from being caregivers to being landlords. And at that point in time, they kind of told their child they didn't see them as family by charging rent because they were making money at that point. In a fucked up way, his parents told him that he's a tenant first before he's their child. That's on them. They can't expect him to then abide by the same rules that he would have as a child when, for one, he's an adult, and two, he pays for the space that he occupies. The parents very clearly distinguished their space as being one that he must earn. Therefore, he has earned his time in that home, and he can decide to do whatever he wants. And if that means skipping out on Easter, then he's skipping out on Easter. My only recommendation here is that he tells his parents that he'll talk to them when he's ready, and to not simply shut his parents out of his life. People make mistakes, even if it's a shitty 4-year-long one, and if they're willing to apologize and step up and, be adults in this situation, ironically, then give them that chance. But in the meantime, OP earned their keep, OP earned their space, and OP has the right to ask for space and time. Hell, if OP wants to, he doesn't have to have communication with his parents. He did earn that right. This is from Deleted, so yeah, this is gonna be messy. Am I the asshole for losing it over my fiance not using a car seat for a 4-year-old? Advice needed. I was at work and I was supposed to pick up our 4-year-old from school in about 10 minutes. I checked my phone and saw a text from 30 minutes before asking if he, 30's male, should pick her up early, and then from a few minutes before saying that they were home. This would usually be a non-issue, except I used the car seat from his car to travel last weekend and he still hasn't reinstalled it. I texted asking what car seat he used, as he had a key to my car that has a car seat installed and is in my trunk, which was at my work about a 5-minute drive from our kid's school. He never responded. My stomach sank. For context, 2 years ago, when kid was 2, he drove them to daycare while she was seated in the front seat in a lap belt. His explanation was they were running late for daycare. I lost it. I yelled and cried and told him that I would leave him if he ever did it again. That he was willing to put our kid at risk for his convenience, and it eroded my trust in him. I talked with the life-altering injuries or death he was willing to put her at risk for just to save a few minutes. He seemed to get it and said he wouldn't do it again. I told him I would leave him if he did. His rationale yesterday was that he didn't remember he didn't have her car seat until after they got to the car, and he didn't call me to come because I hadn't answered my earlier text, so I must have been busy. He didn't want to bring her back into school so he could leave to get the car seat because he knew she would be upset and it would traumatize her. I lost it. I want to leave him. I yelled that he obviously didn't give a shit about her safety and just did what was easiest for him. He stated she was fine and I was freaking out about something that was a tiny risk. That his mom let him drive on her lap at that age and he's fine, and that he buckled her up in the back with a lap belt. Am I the asshole? Okay, first and foremost, 4'9" is the magic number that has been a PSA for a long time for a reason, because when a child is under 4'9", a car's safety systems cannot properly keep them safe and in some instances can actually injure them. So a car seat is needed below that height specifically for that reason. So now, unless the daughter at the age 4 was taller than 4'9", even with that, the parents would still need to have a conversation of, hey, our daughter is now tall enough to no longer need a car seat. And considering that they are still talking about swapping the car seat around, this conversation never happened, which kind of does point out exactly what OP stated. The father was willing to roll the dice for his convenience. Yes, sure, when he was a child, he was on his mom's lap and nothing bad happened and he was fine, but all it takes is one bad dice roll, one fuck up, and it's done. You no longer have a daughter. That's all it takes. The car seat heavily puts those odds in your favor and keeps your daughter safe. But all it takes is one airbag being just a little bit in the wrong position and you no longer have a daughter. So a car seat is 100% necessary. And where it even goes heavily against the husband's favor is he made the choice to pick his daughter up early. He made the choice to go and grab her. It's not like it was his responsibility to and the car seat was just like way off somewhere else, so it just made things more complicated. He's the one who made the decision to go and pick the daughter up early and to actively forego the car seat because he didn't want to traumatize her by taking, as stated, the additional 5-minute drive to go to the mom's work and then back. 10 to 15 minutes in total extra. That's all it would have taken just to make sure that this never would have been a problem. This one's posted by Throwaway Gender Reveal Party. This is gonna be rough. Am I the asshole for canceling our gender reveal party because I know my husband will be unhappy and possibly leave? We are already off to a bad start. My 37 female, husband 43 male, and I have a son 9 male together, and I'm currently pregnant with our second child. My husband and I have already booked the venue for the gender reveal. We'll lose the photographer's deposit and what we have spent on decorations, etc., etc. However, my husband is more concerned about the reputation effect as he grew up affluent. He has a very high-paying job and also a stake in a family business. However, I can tell that despite us already having a boy who he absolutely adores, they can do no wrong in each other's eyes. My son always had every toy, fun activity, best clothes gifted by his dad. He desperately wants our second child, who we expect to be our last, to be a boy. I went into planning this reveal rationalizing that gender disappointment is okay, but I've come to realize that there is wishing you're having a son, and then there's fixating on not having a daughter, even more than wanting another son. And my husband falls into the second category. We didn't do a gender reveal for our firstborn because my husband kept putting off whether or not he wanted to hear it from the doctor and when. We ended up learning, with him ecstatic, about having a son less than a month before giving birth. It's not all his fault. He grew up with an older dad who was always controlling towards his mother. Their town at the time was essentially a company town and his dad threatened her family's jobs. Plus, he made it impossible for her to go about her day without seeing him until she agreed to be with him. My husband also pursued me pretty aggressively, and we had tension over how I at times felt uneasy around him. Yes, we've been in therapy over this. Our marriage had been strained because I was done with him not understanding why my body was still not 100% 3 months after giving birth. He would counter by saying I turned down sex the day after giving birth, but that was him showing he was attracted to me post-baby. Now his demons are back. We got to the point where he said fine to me going alone to hear the baby's gender without telling him, and I found out we're having a girl. I guess I don't have a good poker face by his negative reaction after I got home. He is arguing he doesn't know the baby's gender because I did not explicitly tell him, but 100% he does know. I'd be fine with a reveal where the guests are the ones being surprised, but it's in a week, and with each day my husband grows more withdrawn, and he's not the type who can fake happiness, and often tries to leave and pull me away with him when he's really upset. So I decided to pull the plug. Again, he's not mad about the money, yet he's angry that we're doing this to our family and friends and what this may say about him. I put my foot down. Am I the asshole? There are a lot of red flags in here. First of all, to me, it sounds like that the husband essentially stalked her until she was willing to enter a relationship, which is already a huge fucking red flag. And on top of that, like, from what has been described and how he treats his wife, I would not be comfortable with him having a daughter. That is actually concerning. And that's not even what the post is about. This is just how I feel on this. I'm not comfortable with him having a daughter. And considering how he treats the son, he's not going to treat the daughter like that. The daughter's going to grow up in a household where she's hated, and the son's probably going to pick up on the misogyny, which the first comment that I see below here, someone's talking about how they're the asshole for sticking with the husband, but the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that when you're in an abusive relationship, you don't recognize it, and you're kind of fucking trapped. So I don't know what they can do in this position, because they have family pressure, they have societal pressure, they have financial pressure. They're dealing with someone who's probably going to be violent, give or take. Who knows what the reaction could be when this kind of information is exposed to them? They're not in a safe environment. And this isn't just as simple as they should just leave, because they already have a child together. I mean, they have a life built together, but this sucks, man. This one's brought to us by SchemeLong4640. Am I the asshole for telling my father I do know about that? Reddit has determined this to be not the asshole, but we'll be the judge of that as well. I, 28 female, am a wildlife biologist. I have a master's degree in wildlife conservation, and I'm hoping to go for my doctorate soon. I've worked in this field since I was 16 and am very passionate about it. When visiting my family recently for Easter, my mom asked me to tell the family a little bit about work. I was very excited to talk about my current research. Here's where the issue comes in though. My father, male 60, would respond to almost everything I said with, I don't know about that. At first, I tried to ignore it, but it just didn't stop. Eventually, I responded, well, I do, given the 2 degrees and all. I responded in a light, playful tone, but he did not take it well. He immediately accused me of being disrespectful. I responded, I'm sorry, but it's disrespectful of you to insinuate that you know more than I do about my field. Dinner got pretty quiet after that. I finished the meal, helped with the dishes, and said goodbye before leaving. But on the ride home, I got a phone call from my mother asking me why I felt the need to aggravate my father and why I had to talk back. I am a 28-year-old professional. This feels insane to me. Am I the asshole? And then an edit of them being grateful to the reception of everyone else. They're in the clear. Honestly, they could have been more aggressive. It sounds like their father is just extremely sexist even towards their own daughter and has no respect for anyone who actually knows something that they don't. That's my 2 cents. I think they have a problem with not being the smartest and brightest person in the room, but that's just me in my opinion. I think they should have been meaner. Honestly, whenever your dad talks about his model trains, just be like, I don't know about that. Every time. Just see what they say. Give him a taste of his own medicine. But all things aside, I do think that Scheme Long was 100% in the right here, and even the fact that they've been gaslit into believing they had to post this is honestly kind of depressing. Not only did you not talk back to your father, but you weren't the one who aggravated. He fucked around and he found out. Good luck on your doctorates and don't let this get to you. So this one's going to be interesting because there's actually an update attached to it. This one's uploaded by a particular anxious 208. Am I the asshole for skipping my friend's birthday without warning because his girlfriend calls me the typical girl best friend? Reddit has deemed this person not the asshole. We will be the judge of that. Miles and I have known each other since we were 2 because our parents are best friends. Now, I would not say Miles is my best friend. He's a good friend and we do hang out on occasion, but see each other on all major holidays because of our parents. We are in our early 20s. The problem started because of a dumb childhood memory. When we were 8, we had a wedding play on school aftercare. I played the bride and Miles the groom. It was a play, with horrible songs and uncoordinated kids. Obviously, our parents made pictures and videos of that, and we each have one picture on our family picture walls. Miles is dating Lindy. They met 3 years ago and started dating last year. Lindy does not like me. So every time we coincide at a celebration, she makes a comment about me being the typical girl best friend. She one time said that I secretly wanted to sleep with Miles. I have no clue where she got that impression from. Miles and I have different friend groups and schedules, and besides the monthly catch-up over food, we didn't really meet that much. Things got worse when Lindy saw the wedding play picture. The comments just got more. She started DMing me on Instagram saying she knew what game I was playing. I talked to Miles once about this, and he told me to give her time. So his birthday was on Saturday, and I was invited. Lindy wrote me saying something along the lines that she was going to supervise me. This was their first birthday as a couple, and I was not allowed to take up his time. I was honestly just fed up. I tried talking to Miles once more, but he said the same thing. So I just skipped out. When the party started, I wrote a quick sorry I can't come and told him my mother was going to bring his present. Now, he's upset with me for missing his birthday. Lindy is mad that I made it all about myself, and my parents are upset I missed a family function. Am I the asshole? Edit. I didn't show anyone the messages because I didn't want to make more out of this than it is. I didn't want to poison anyone against Lindy, especially not if she is a new fixture in Miles' life. That would make both of our lives more difficult. I hope that just talking about it might be the more adult thing. My parents are not mad at me or blowing up my phone, a la Reddit fashion. They and Miles' parents were just bummed out that this was the first birthday that I ever missed. As to why she's jealous, I have no idea. Neither of our parents wanted us together. There were no jokes or anything about that. I think they also never would want that. The wedding play picture is in the living rooms because they loved the picture and it was our first play. So the edits pretty much answered all and any questions that I had initially. So let's see if the update can shine more light on this because I have so many more questions now. Or more of comments and criticisms about Lindy as a person. Either she's extremely jealous, insecure, or something else is going on, but I don't want to quite point fingers yet. And here's the update. I will update in the first part and clarify some things later. After my post, I talked to Miles. At first, he was kind of mad and thought I had been blowing things out of proportion. Some more details are in my last post, which we read. We came to the conclusion of taking more distance while he figures that all out, mainly because I did not want the added stress of petty drama. Then, I talked to my parents and explained to them what was going on. They were really upset by how Lindy treated me. Like, obviously, they weren't going to get involved, but it was nice to get that off my chest. Then, nothing else happened until Tuesday evening. Wednesday was a holiday, so some of my friends took the opportunity to go to an Irish pub to do karaoke. At some point, my best friend and I went to pee and touch up our makeup. Then, Lindy and some of her friends walked in and kind of cornered us. It wasn't pretty. They started talking loudly about man-stealing bitches and how some women were just born to be homewreckers. And imagine being pathetic enough to pretend to be a guy's friend to fuck him and how pick-me's are the worst. They kept kind of edging us physically into the part where the hand dryers were while pretending we were not there, until my best friend had enough and just pushed through them while drawing me behind her. We were almost at our table when Lindy was right behind me and pulled my hair so that I fell backwards onto a metallic piece where you were supposed to put your feet on. It hurt so bad that I started to see white, and then a girl next to Lindy poured beer on me. I cannot really tell you what happened, but there was a scuffle and someone dropped one of those heavy pint glasses on my head. The Lindys were taken away by police and I was taken to the hospital. My parents were furious, as were Miles' parents. They both came to the hospital. I was severely concussed. My nose was fractured, and the worst thing is that I have a hairline fracture in my back. I stayed at the hospital till yesterday morning. Miles did try calling me a bunch, and according to my parents, they told him not to visit me right now. I did get an official notice saying that apparently there was now a legal case open against Lindy and one other girl for not only assault but also public disturbance in the bar. So now I'll have to deal with all that legally. That is not fun. I finally talked to Miles, and long story short, those of you saying that Lindy was isolating him was a sign of an abusive relationship was right. He told me all the things she said to make him feel awful. She would freak out about anything in her life and take that out on him. She would scratch him and bite him when she was mad. Our talk ended with both of us crying and apologizing. We will be closer again, at least so we can talk about these things more often. He broke up with her and is hiding at my parents' house. So that is it for now. These have been rough for me to read through. While I did not anticipate things would be physical, I definitely hit the nail on the head with my previous theory that I didn't want to quite start pointing blame on, that Lindy is one of those types, an abuser pretty much. I've been in similar situations where my partner actively talks down to me. One of my least fond memories was hearing my partner in the living room on her phone actively shit-talking me to her friends and family, and when I confronted them about them actively shit-talking me, they said that I was eavesdropping on them when they were in the living room, and that I should be the one who feels bad about it. So this kind of behavior of essentially tearing you down so you're dependent on them because of the emotional complexity of it and the feelings that are weighted on top of you, Miles, I'm glad Miles got out of that, because that shit is rough. That is not something you want to be in, because it is horrible having to live through that kind of shit. All right. I'm glad Miles is out of there. Sounds like Lindy's a piece of shit, and I hope to God that things can kind of patch up from here. I hope to God that Miles has a talk with his parents about possibly taking down the photos of them doing the mock wedding, because that's going to make any girl that Miles dates jealous, because then she's going to have the question, do the parents not like me? Why is this being displayed? It's going to create a lot of tension in the future, and I think that may have been like a tipping point for Lindy and probably just made her psychotic behavior worse. I might keep this username censored for this one. Am I the asshole for announcing our pregnancy at my sister's engagement party after she ruined my proposal? This is gonna get petty. I can feel it in my bones. When my girlfriend and I decided to get engaged, we wanted to be a special moment between us. So I made it clear to my family, especially my sister, that I didn't want any grand gestures or interruptions during the proposal. However, during our romantic dinner, just as I was about to pop the question, my sister burst in with a group of friends cheering and causing a scene. I was furious and felt like my special moment had been ruined. My sister brushed off my anger, saying she wanted to celebrate with us, but I couldn't shake off the disappointment. Fast forward to my sister's engagement party, and I couldn't resist the chance to make a statement of my own. During the toast to the happy couple, I announced that my girlfriend and I were expecting our first child. My sister was livid, accused me of stealing her thunder on her special day, but I couldn't help but feel vindicated, especially when our family rallied behind us, excitedly discussing our baby news. While my sister insists I was the asshole for overshadowing her engagement, I can't help but to think back to how she disregarded any of my wishes during my proposal. Oh my God. Both of you are assholes. Your sister's the asshole first, but you're a petty asshole, and yes, you're the asshole. Yes, it was justified. You made me laugh. Oh my God. So what you did was a dick move, but it was a well-deserved dick move. And you have my respect, but also my shame. Take of that as you would. Posted by... Am I the asshole for not wanting to go to my sister's wedding because she's getting married on my birthday? I'm 20 male, sister, 25 female, is getting married on my birthday. When I found out the date she was planning on getting married, June 1st, I was very surprised. She told me about her plans last year and told me that it was because her fiancé wanted to make sure his family would be able to fly, so he suggested the date since all the kids would be out of school by then. Understandable, I guess, but not really. I told her that I probably wouldn't be attending because I was going to be celebrating my birthday that day. She was upset and tried to get me to change my mind, but I didn't. Every time her wedding is brought up, she asks me if I'm planning on coming, and I tell her that I'm not. She sent out an RSVP 1 week ago, and I RSVP'd no. This upset her again, and she practically begged me to attend because she wants her brother there. I told her that I appreciate it and I love her, but I would still not be attending. She kind of became argumentative with me about it, and I told her that I don't see why she'd expect me to celebrate my birthday during a wedding. I reminded her that when I first told her that I wasn't going to be attending, she had months to try and change the date. She told me that I could always celebrate my birthday that Friday, but I told her that I couldn't because I work that Friday, and I'm not celebrating my birthday on a Sunday. Both her and our parents have been asking me to reconsider since it's in 2 weeks. My parents have told me to be there for my sister. They said a birthday comes every year, but a wedding is only once. But I won't be 21 again, and I personally don't want to spend my birthday during a wedding. But now my birthday is gonna be their anniversary going forward, so I'm not sure how that's gonna work in the future. I honestly feel like they should have just chosen a different fucking date. I know I would have done that for her, but whatever. Am I wrong or just ignorant? Key factors to consider. He did let his sister know way in advance that he wouldn't be attending if it was June 1st on his 21st birthday. Their reasoning for scheduling it for June 1st is that the family would be there and the kids would be out of school. So my question is, why not just schedule it for June 8th? By the sounds of it, they had months to change it by 1 week before they even sent out the RSVPs. I would be very curious for audience input on this because with my personal opinion, he told her, hey, if it's on my birthday, my 21st birthday, which only comes once in a lifetime, I'm not gonna be there. And she persisted with putting it on his 21st birthday, then got mad at him because he wasn't gonna be there. That's my opinion. He gave them plenty of time in advance. If she actually wanted him at her wedding, just why didn't she move it by a week? This one's brought to us by Weekly Medium 9488. Am I the asshole for not wanting to attend my sister's wedding because of her disrespect towards my husband? Hey everyone, I need some unbiased opinions on this situation. I'm a 28-year-old female married to a wonderful husband, Jake, 32 male. We've been together for 5 years, married for 2. My sister, Lily, 26 female, is getting married next month and I'm really torn about attending her wedding. Here's the backstory. Lily has never liked Jake. From the moment I introduced them, she's been cold and dismissive towards him. Jake is a kind and gentle person, always trying to win her over, but she's made it clear she doesn't approve of our relationship. She's made several snide comments about his job, he's a freelance graphic designer and sometimes works odd hours, and even questioned his ability to support me, despite the fact that we're both financially stable and happy with our lives. Things came to a head last month at a family dinner. Lily openly insulted Jake in front of everyone, calling him lazy and saying that I settled for less. My parents didn't intervene, and Jake, being the bigger person, just smiled and excused himself from the table. I was furious and confronted her later, but she brushed it off as just joking. I told her how hurtful her words were and that she owed Jake an apology. She refused, saying she was just looking out for me. When we received her wedding invitation, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. Jake, bless his heart, said he'd support whatever decision I made, but I know it hurt him deeply. I don't want to go to an event where my husband is disrespected and made to feel unwelcome. I told Lily I might not attend if she didn't apologize to Jake. She accused me of being selfish and trying to ruin her big day. My parents think I should just suck it up and go for the sake of family harmony. They believe that Lily's just stressed with the wedding planning and didn't mean any harm, but I feel like attending without an apology is condoning her behavior towards Jake. Am I the asshole for not wanting to attend my sister's wedding because she refuses to apologize to my husband? Too long didn't read, my sister has always been disrespectful towards my husband and refuses to apologize for her hurtful comments. I'm considering not attending her wedding because of this. Am I the asshole? So, there's a scene from The Office where Pam is going to lunch with Jim's brothers, and Jim's brothers spend the entire time jokingly, I put this in air quotes, bashing Pam for wanting to be an artist. This gives the same vibes to me. If Jake is not abusive and cares for you as a spouse, then it is none of her business what is going on behind the scenes. And yes, she should apologize to you for how she is treating your husband. That is just bare minimum. If she actually wants you at her wedding, then she should have no problem genuinely fucking apologizing. Faithful Betty. Am I the asshole for getting upset at my boyfriend for liking other girls' posts on Instagram? My boyfriend, Carson, 23 male, is saying I'm a crazy girlfriend for getting mad about this, so I need to figure out who's wrong. Basically, we've been dating for 6 months now, and I've caught him liking a bunch of other girls' thirst traps on IG so many times now. It's like a monthly argument over some new girl he begins crushing over. Anytime he begins following a new random girl, I check her recent posts, and every single one of them he likes. And on top of that, he comments under super revealing photos of them in a bikini with a bunch of heart eye emojis like this. Heart eyes, heart eyes, heart eyes. His argument is it's his spam account, so he isn't using his main to follow these girls. But for me, that's not the issue. It's the fact that he's doing it in general. I don't think it's right for a guy to be crushing over some random girl on the internet when he has a girlfriend. He claims that with guys it's purely visual, and as long as no emotion is involved, it doesn't matter. But how does that make any sense? Keep in mind, he gets super jealous when I even talk to another guy. I may be a bit crazy, stalking everyone he follows, but I only started doing that when I caught him the first time. Now, it's like I need to keep tabs on the newest girl. Is this normal for guys to do? Maybe most guys are like this and he's just not very good at hiding it. So, 2 things from the get-go. 1, you have expressed that you are uncomfortable with your significant other's behavior and they are continue doing that. That is a red flag. 2, there is also the emotional aspect of this, the fact that if I was in a relationship and my boyfriend or girlfriend were essentially liking other people's thirst traps constantly, that would tell me that they don't find me attractive. And that would definitely hurt quite a bit. So I do think it is valid for you to be upset about the fact that your boyfriend is going around and crushing over random IG girls. Those 2 alone make your concerns valid, but on top of that, and what I think is the biggest red flag and deserves its own section entirely, is that he would get jealous if you were doing this to other guys on Instagram. See, it would be one thing if both of you were thirst trapping over people on IG and would kind of just be a mutual thing, then yeah, you would be in the asshole if you were thirsting over guys and he was thirsting over girls and you were getting mad at him for thirsting over the girls. But the thing is you're not doing that. A line has been drawn in the relationship and he's not respecting it. Hail Spray 7901. Am I the asshole for not letting my friend move in with me after she was evicted? Hi everyone, I'm a female 22 and I need some advice on a situation with my best friend who's 19 female. We've been friends since middle school and have always been there for each other. Recently, my friend was evicted from her apartment because she couldn't pay rent. She lost her job a few months ago and has been struggling to find a new one. She's been couch surfing at different friends' places and now she's asked if she can move in with me temporarily. I live in a small 1-bedroom apartment that I pay for with a part-time job and with some help from my parents. It's not a lot, but it's my space, and I value my privacy. Here are the reasons that I'm hesitant to let her move in. Space. My apartment is really small. There's barely enough room for me, let alone another person. I don't have a couch or an extra bed. She'd have to sleep on the floor or in my bed, which makes me uncomfortable. Financial stability. I'm already on a tight budget, and adding another person to the household would increase my expenses, utilities, food, etc. And I don't think I can afford it without jeopardizing my own financial stability. Boundaries. I've always been someone who needs personal space to recharge. Living with someone else, especially in such close quarters, would be really draining for me. Past experiences. We lived together briefly in the past and it didn't go well. She didn't clean up after herself, and we had arguments about responsibilities. I'm worried that these issues would resurface and strain our friendship once more. When I explained my concerns to her, she got really upset. She accused me of not being a true friend and said that if the roles were reversed, she would let me stay with her without hesitation. She feels like I'm abandoning her in her time of need. Our mutual friends are divided. Some think I'm being reasonable and that I shouldn't jeopardize my own well-being. Others think I should help her because that's what friends do. I'm really torn. I don't want to lose my best friend, but I also need to take care of myself. So am I the asshole for not letting my friend move in with me after she was evicted? No! First things first, for the friends that disagree with you and think that you should let her move in, maybe they should let her move in with them. I feel like it's a bit hypocritical of them for them to be upset with you for not letting that friend move in when they themselves never extended the offer in the first place either. The space, financial stability, and boundaries, those are all very important for you to consider, and honestly put your well-being before others because trust me, in the long run, it's needed. Now let's talk about the past experience section. A slob will always be a slob. As someone who used to live with someone who considered the floor to be a trash can, if you can't handle that kind of mess, do not subject yourself to it. It is not worth the mental anxiety and taxing stress that puts you under. Zealous Ideal put 2549. Would I be the asshole if I moved across the country to escape babysitting for my family? So I, 19 female, have 5 younger siblings, male 11, female 9, and 1 set of triplets, and have been roped into babysitting them almost every day. It's gotten to the point where I had to change my work schedule so that I have less hours to accommodate for the fact that my parents dumped my siblings on me. At first, I didn't mind because I was living under my parents' roof rent-free, and because my job doesn't pay enough for me to rent an apartment where I live. But now, I'm barely able to go out with my friends or even do the activities that I signed up to do on weekends because my parents just hand me a child and disappear. I even end up having to put one of the triplets to sleep, which can take hours and take sleep away from me. I'm up between 4 to 6 a.m. to help get the triplets ready for daycare, which often ends with one of them having to stay for some reason or another. One of the triplets even calls me Ma and my mom Mama, which my mom hates. I'm trying to go to college, and one of the colleges I applied for is basically across the country, and if I go, my parents would have to deal with how expensive daycare is for 3 babies since both of them work. I've heard my parents complain about it, so I feel a little bad, but I honestly need to escape because I feel exhausted all of the time. Edit, I'm not choosing this college only because it's far from my family. It also has the degree that I want, and I wouldn't have to worry about out-of-state tuition, which is something that I check before applying. I've tried many times to set boundaries, but my parents just ignore them. In fact, as I'm typing this, I'm putting one of the triplets down for a nap time because my parents decided to leave them with me even though this is my only day off. I couldn't say no because as soon as I got back from a doctor's appointment, my mom walked out the door after complaining about being late to work because of me. This is actually a form of abuse known as parentification. Get the fuck out of there. It is not your responsibility to raise your parents' children. That is not what you signed up for in life. Leave. Go across hell. Move to Europe, for God's sakes. Get the hell away from your parents. Genuinely. If your own mother's upset with her children calling you Ma, then maybe she should step in and do her fucking job. And to be clear, I'm not upset with OP. I'm actually livid with her parents. Parentification can have severe, long-term mental health effects that can cause developmental problems, socialization issues, and as we see here, it puts a massive strain on their day-to-day life. This is child abuse. If I were you, I would up and leave. Go to your college, never come back until your parents learn to respect you and understand that, hey, you've been putting so much fucking work into this, and maybe they should get a taste of it too. And before you leave, because I've seen plenty of stories about this when it comes to parentification and attempting to escape this, get your documents. I've seen stories where someone will leave the house, forget their documents, and their parents threaten them and use their documents as a form of blackmail and leverage. Make sure you get those before you get out. WittyAd2446. Am I the asshole for saying I'm not wearing a black dress to my grandma's funeral? This one has the tag of poo mode activated, which means the commenters are being gross. I, 21 male, am a well-passing trans man. Oh, that makes sense as to whether there's the flare. I'm tall, relatively muscular, short-haired, and just overall guy-looking. My grandma passed away recently and had Alzheimer's for quite some time before she died. She often used to not recognize me or ask my mom where my dead name was when I was right there. She would sometimes say she'd love to see me again, and it was overall painful for the whole family. Before I came out, Gran used to love picking out dresses for me, and afterwards, she moved on to suits. But when she started forgetting stuff, she kept talking about what kind of dresses I like now, what she would get for me, etc. The funeral's next week, and I mentioned that I would probably wear the last suit she got for me, which was black and a vest just for extra blackness. My cousin looked at me like I just said the most ridiculous thing on the planet, and she said, no, Gran would have wanted to see you in a dress. And how I could disrespect her very wishes on such an occasion, and what an asshole I am for putting my needs over hers when it's her funeral. I didn't quite know how to respond to that, and luckily I was saved by her kids who started making a mess, so she went after them. I, frankly, think she's being fucking ridiculous. I couldn't pass as a girl if I tried anymore, much less fit into one of my old dresses. I think it would be utterly disrespectful if I showed up in a dress. It would look far too ridiculous or comical for a funeral. I am 99.99999999999% sure that I am not the asshole. I'm genuinely no longer the build to be in a dress. I'm a grown man. It would be a joke. But just in case I'm missing something, am I the asshole? I don't want to disrespect Gran at her funeral, but I really think wearing a dress would be more disrespectful. Beyond the issue of you now passing, and it would definitely be comical for a grown man to be wearing a dress, I think it is fundamentally disrespectful to only remember your grandmother as she was with Alzheimer's and not how she was beforehand when she accepted you and bought you a suit. You wearing the suit is you stating at the funeral that you remember how she was, and not how she was in her final moments. You are stating firmly that you remember your grandmother for who she was, and not who she became from a disease that is uncurable. Rock that suit that she picked out for you. It's what your grandmother would have wanted. And I'm back with a glass of wine. I'm trying to have a little bit of fun. I had a long day, so I thought I would kick back with some pink communion wine. This one's brought to us by Interesting Bug 3306. Am I the asshole for not letting my kids travel the country by van with their mother and her boyfriend? My ex, Marcia, has always been a bit of a free spirit and a hippie. We divorced due to what we wanted of life changing from when we were initially married. She then began dating Paul. And they've been together for 5 years. Our kids are now 14 and 12, and I never had a problem with Paul. He's a lot like Marcia, and he makes her happy. Plus, the kids seem to like him. Marcia and I used to split custody 50-50. Then, a year ago, out of nowhere, Marcia told me that she and Paul wanted to travel the country in a renovated van. I guess Paul is a huge fan of the van life culture on social media. She wanted me to give permission for her to bring the kids and let them be homeschooled for a year. I could fly out to see the kids a few times, or she'd fly them back. We had the homeschool debate when our oldest was younger, and I had always been against it. I did not feel either of us were equipped to educate the kids in that manner. I still don't feel we are. Not to mention, by this point, the kids love their school, and more importantly, I didn't want to not see them for months at a time. I refused to sign off on this. The kids didn't want to go either. This might be the wine talking, but you're already in the clear, my dude. Because our custody agreement says we both have to approve trips out of state for the kids, the judge declined her request. Marcia decided to go anyway. She willingly gave me sole custody. The plan was to fly the kids out to wherever they were a few times a year. The kids went a total of 2 times around holidays, but they were miserable. Marcia said they shouldn't come again. I listened and validated my kids' feelings, but never trash-talked their mother. She and Paul returned in January. The kids also heavily resent Marcia for leaving. I have them in therapy, but they don't want to attend therapy with her. Their therapist backs this up and says as long as they continue their personal sessions, that's fine. Marcia tried to take me to court for our old agreement, but the judge said because she had no job, no stable housing, they live out of a van, and barely saw her kids for a year, she can only have partial custody. The judge also says they're old enough to decide if they go or not. Most of the time, they don't. When they didn't see her for Mother's Day, Marcia called me in tears. She said none of this would have happened if I just signed off on them going. She said we could have talked them into it. I said she made her choice. She decided living in a van and seeing the country was more interesting than seeing her kids for a year. I pointed out that she could have chosen to do it for the summer, and the kids may have agreed then, but even if they didn't, they probably wouldn't resent her. But no. She left for an entire year and broke their hearts. This made her cry more. I'm pretty close with my ex-mother-in-law, and she says I should have let the kids go or tried to convince them to go at the very least. And she said I was needlessly cruel to Marcia on Mother's Day. Am I the asshole? Fundamentally, full stop, no. She is actually the asshole in this situation because she was willing to abandon her children to go cross-country and shack up with Paul in a fucking van. The kids were miserable in the van when they visited. They would not have been happy if they were taken out of a school that they loved to be homeschooled in a van down by the river in dealing with this. And this hurts because I grew up in a divorced family. All right, when I was 4 years old, my mother and father divorced, so custody battles were just part of the norm. And it sounds like initially they had a pretty good deal signed off and an understanding of the 50-50 agreement. That's pretty good. That's pretty cool. That's pretty healthy. But for her just to vanish and go cross-country in a van and abandon her children, yeah, they're gonna resent you. You abandon them. There is no level of convincing. You're just trying to blame other people for your own actions. I'm sorry, but this is on you, Marcia. And goddamn, this poor guy has been thoroughly gaslit to go to Reddit wondering, am I the asshole for not letting my ex-wife take my kids out of school, homeschool them, make them live out of a van, and drive cross-country for an entire year when they didn't want to in the first place? And then his mother-in-law gets involved because the children are upset with their mother for leaving. This poor man! Professional Tax 7753. Am I the asshole for abandoning my parents at an island in the Oh boy. For abandoning my parents at an island in the Caribbean so I could get back to our cruise in time? Reddit has already deemed them not the assholes. Let's figure this one out, shall we? I graduated from high school back in December. As a gift, my parents got me a cruise. It was also for my 18th birthday. It was also a family vacation. We usually stay at all-inclusive resorts, but I've always wanted to go on a cruise. I told my parents it was different, and that if we went on excursions, we had to follow the schedule, no matter what. Well, it was a week-long cruise, and they would not head back to the ship when I said it was time to go. They were busy shopping and bargaining with the locals. I finally said that I was heading back to the ship. My mom waved me off. They missed the departure. By a lot. Like 45 minutes. They got a hold of me through WhatsApp. They wanted to know why I didn't get the boat to wait for them. I wanted to scream that they were not going to inconvenience 3,998 people because 2 could not understand what his schedule was. They ended up having to fly to the next port from there, and it was expensive. They're pissed at me for leaving them behind. I don't know what I was supposed to do. They literally told me they knew what they were doing. I wish I had never asked for this. They're making me miserable because I left without them. Your title needs a correction. You did not abandon your parents in the Caribbean. They abandoned themselves. They said they knew what they were doing, and they also had the expectation that you would simply hold the entire boat up for 2 people who decided they would rather bargain and haggle with locals. That is not your fault in the slightest. That is 100% on them. I thought this would be something more along the lines of, you knew there was a schedule, they did not, you told them they were supposed to go, they didn't, so you slyly just walked away and left them to their own devices. But no, you spelled it out pretty cleanly for them. And they decided they knew better. I find it ironic that the 18-year-old who recently found themselves walking into adulthood is somehow more mature and responsible than the people that raised them. Good for you, but oh boy, try not to let your parents ruin your cruise for you. Elegant Device 1566. Am I the asshole for not declining or signing over my portion of my ex-boyfriend's life insurance payout to his mom? I recently learned that my ex-boyfriend passed away of cancer in March. His mom called me last week to inform me of his passing and to inform me that myself and her are listed as beneficiaries on his life insurance from his employer. She instantly tells me that she doesn't know why he never changed it, but I can decline or sign the check over to her once I receive it. Instantly, I'm in shock. He's gone, and he left me on there? Why? I went back and forth wondering if this was on purpose or accidental. It had been years, approximately 6 years, since we mutually civilly split up. I was informed he had a new girlfriend that lived with him, and she has 2 kids from a previous relationship that threw a wrench into things more. Is there a reason she never got put on it? Was this all just a big mistake? Today, it had been 1 week, and this has been very hard, especially since his mom has been terrorizing me all week trying to get me to agree to give her his money. She has said the most hurtful things and has sent me the most disrespectful photos and video of her son in his last moments. As of right now, I haven't even gotten in touch with the insurance company. I have no idea how much this is or if I need a lawyer's help at this point. But, well, today is the day I woke up knowing 100% I am keeping this money, and I'm not going to feel bad at all for helping my family with the gift my ex left for me. Oh, you are going to hell. Unfortunately, part of me still wonders if it's the right thing to do by my ex, and if these were his wishes in the end. A little info to add, my home burned to the ground 3 years ago, July 20th. In October 1st, 2 years ago, my mom passed away from cancer as well. It has been a long, hard few years, and this money would literally buy myself a new bra for the first time in 3 years. My little clan could really use this money, and I think my ex knew that. Oh my god, no! You are justifying yourself in circles. What probably fucking happened was 6 years ago, he put you as a beneficiary and forgot. You spent this entire post justifying your actions of robbing a grieving mother. Like, this is holy shit. Please, for the love of God, give the grieving mother her actual portion of the beneficiary of the insurance payout, because what you're doing right now is, like, unironically actually evil. You spent the entire post essentially very clearly trying to justify to yourself why it was okay for you to take this money, telling yourself that this could have been a purposeful plan of his because he knew that you secretly needed the money, despite you two not being in contact for like 6 years. He had another partner with 2 kids also. The little comment about, oh, it's been 1 week and it's been really hard because his mom has been terrorizing me to agree to give her the money. She's a grieving mother, dealing with the fact that some random person who has not been in her son's life for 6 years is getting the payout that she doesn't fucking deserve. Of course she's upset. You had no fucking idea he had cancer either, and you're just gonna be like, I think he knew what he was doing. The dude probably forgot to change work documents. Chances are when he was hired on, they prompted him with insurance policy stuff, and this was probably 6 years ago, and he filled you out as a beneficiary. And here you are, 6 years later, after his death. Ooh, nasty words want to come out of my mouth right now. Stop trying to rob a grieving mother. Specific handle 734. Am I the asshole for making it clear to my sister that my son won't be helping her with her stuff? My 8-year-old son has dyspraxia, which is a neurological condition that affects coordination and movement, for anyone who's never heard of it before. He struggles not to drop or break things, doesn't have good hand-eye coordination. He has always appeared clumsy, and while he does his very best to be careful and to take good care of things, he can't always prevent accidents, breakages, or spillages from happening. This is something my sister has expressed frustration about over the years. He was the type of toddler, and now kid, who will be eating or drinking something and it falls to the floor, or he knocks stuff over without meaning to because he's reaching for something else. It's not his fault. He does physical therapy to help him and has done physio in the past to boost his strength. But there is no cure. He's just getting help to go through life. My son has broken many things because of his condition. If it belonged to someone else, we have always replaced it or paid for the damages. We also started making sure he used his own stuff, or our stuff, to prevent this from happening, especially toys my sister's kids have. But his condition means he can't do everything other kids his age might be able to do. Now, this is a huge problem for my sister. Last weekend, my son spent the day with my parents while my wife and I were attending an event. My sister went to my parents and asked my son to help her and her kids pack up stuff for their move, and my son said he couldn't help and he was sorry. My sister told him that he's a big boy now and should be helping, but my son told her he doesn't do that kind of stuff. My parents told my sister to leave. She confronted me after this and asked me what I was teaching my kid when he wouldn't help out family. I told her we're teaching him to work within his means and to not help out someone who will berate him for his condition, which she will do. She said we're coddling and spoiling him, that he's more than old enough to learn how to be more careful, to be better and to cause less accidents and make fewer mistakes, and he needs to learn to help family. And we need to make him do stuff for family to be good parents. I told her my son will never help her with stuff because she lacks the compassion and understanding that his efforts would require. Her response was that it was an asshole thing to say, that he wouldn't help specifically her and that she's still his aunt and my sister, and I'm supposed to be her brother. I told her she's supposed to be my sister and my son's aunt, but she edges on bullying him over this, and it doesn't make her a suitable person for him to try helping out. She asked me for an apology and for me to make this right. She told me that I owe her that much at the very least. Am I the asshole? The only benefit of the doubt that I can give to your sister is that she is unaware of what the condition actually means and what it actually does. That is the only benefit of the doubt that I'm willing to give. Anything else, and she is just a monster. Because if she does have an understanding that your son has a neurological condition that makes it so he doesn't have proper motor function, and she's still like, oh well, why isn't he helping the family out? He's a bad son and you're coddling him too much. She can go fuck herself, honestly. Keep doing what's right by your son. You're doing a phenomenal job. Keep it up. Hefty quote, 8462. Am I the asshole for reporting a child licking the sauce dispensers at Costco? Ugh. I went to Costco and bought a hot dog for myself and my husband. After waiting in line, I went to the sauce dispensers to get some mustard. I saw a child licking her fingers, eating the sauce off them, and then proceeding to wipe them on the sauce dispensers where the sauce comes out, repeating the same thing several times with all 3 sauce dispensers. I decided not to confront the child or say anything to her family to avoid causing drama and embarrassing the child. Instead, I told the staff about the incident. A staff member came out and asked who did it, and I pointed at the child. Probably should have kept quiet, but oh well. The staff member confronted the family, which was a big group with 2 women and their children of various ages. The child who did this was about 6 or 7 years old. I saw her licking everything around her, and even her mother asked her to stop. The family then confronted me, asking why I didn't tell them directly, and went straight to the staff. I politely explained that my concern was food safety, and that's all, so I wasn't looking to confront anyone. They didn't believe me. Said I must hate children, and spent the next few minutes talking over me and not letting me put a word in. I reiterated that my concern was only food safety and that I didn't want other people's saliva in my sauces. The staff member then told them they could easily check the CCTV, which seemed to calm the family down. I'm still frustrated due to the whole incident. I hate arguing with people in public and wonder if I'm in the wrong here. Am I the asshole? Edit 1, just wanted to highlight that I told staff to get them to clean the dispensers. That was the reason. Personally, when I read the title, I thought the kid was doing mouth to sauce dispenser and just getting a full mouth of mustard and swallowing it. Both options are pretty revolting. Thankfully, it is something other than what I imagined, but oh boy. Yeah, that is insanely unsanitary, and you don't know where that kid's mouth has been. They could have been eating peanut butter crackers while their parents were shopping at Costco. Now they're licking their fingers and rubbing on sauce dispensers. Someone with a peanut allergy goes to put ketchup on their hot dog and boom, anaphylactic shock. They're gonna need their EpiPen because that kid was licking their fingers and smearing it on things. And that's a hypothetical. We don't know what this kid was doing, but that's kind of the point. Food contamination and food safety. This person did the right thing, and the Costco worker probably has training and protocol in place to remove problem visitors from the food court that are causing food safety concerns. I don't think anyone was in the wrong here besides the family of the licking child. And the thing is, kids are gonna be kids. They're gonna be goobers. They're gonna be snot goblins. It's what they do. It's your responsibility as a parent where if your child is misbehaving and not listening to you, you have to get your child out of that environment so they don't cause problems for other people. That's just what you gotta do. You can't just keep saying, no, don't do that, as they continue to do it. If your child is misbehaving in an environment, take them out of that environment. Granted, I am not a parent, I am only a former child. Classic Bandicoot 672. Am I the asshole for telling my daughter that life isn't high school, and if it was, she would be the loser now? My daughter is 24, Kelly, and my younger daughter is 23, Sarah. They both had very different high school experiences. Kelly was very social and in different sports. Sarah was very academic and had a small group of friends. Kelly got a sports scholarship for college, but soon dropped out of college after she failed multiple classes. She basically partied and did her sport and nothing else. Sarah went on to finish her degree and is doing well in life. Kelly has a jealousy issue, and I have talked with her before about it. She is never happy when Sarah has an accomplishment. Today, Sarah told us that she's going on a cruise for her vacation this year. Kelly always wanted to go on a cruise and couldn't afford it with her waiter job. In the car, she blew up, saying Sarah was a loser in high school, so it isn't fair that she has all of this now. She went on for a bit when I had enough. I told her that life isn't like high school, and if it was, she was the loser now. This started an argument, and she called me a bitch. Reddit, as well as myself, deems this person not to be the asshole in this situation. It sounds like Kelly actually had a pretty good opportunity to be in line and on a similar level as Sarah, but she chose not to. That was her choice. And unfortunately, some people never do grow past the high school popularity scale phase and they bring that shit into adulthood. And oh my god, if you find someone who still treats life like high school when you're in your 20s, let alone when they're in their 30s, run. But seriously, it sounds like Sarah has been working her ass off, and yeah, she deserves to go on a cruise. If Kelly wanted to go on a cruise, she should have actually worked towards her degree and maybe utilize that sports scholarship and actually put things to work. Granted, I don't understand that sports scholarships are kind of a death sentence when it comes to the fact that student athletes aren't being paid properly. However, if she wanted to go on a cruise, she should have actually pursued her degree and not basically went out partying and doing nothing beyond, well, the party life in high school. College. But yeah, not the asshole. Your daughter needed that reality check. High school was 6 years ago. She's been out of high school longer than she was ever in it. So, the fact alone that she did bring up high school as a reason why Sarah shouldn't be allowed. One page, 5216. Am I the asshole for asking our babysitter to set alarms when she sleeps? and Reddit's deemed this person the asshole. Let's find out why. My wife and I, 34, have 3 children, ages 7, 4, and a 9-month-old. I work a demanding job in the medical field and work many, many hours. My wife, not so much, but she does have night shifts often. We just got a new babysitter a few months ago after our one we had for 2 years moved for college. Our new babysitter is only 16, but she had been babysitting one of my coworkers' children for a while, and I trust him. I think they meant trust her. A few nights ago, my wife and I were both working nights, and I saw on the camera that our babysitter was asleep on the couch, and the baby had woken up and was crying for almost 30 minutes while she slept. That bothered me. So without talking to my wife, when I got home in the morning, I had told my babysitter maybe she should set alarms throughout the night to make sure she's awake since the baby monitor didn't wake her, and that it was not okay for her to leave the baby crying like that. I guess it hurt the kid's feelings because she mentioned it to my wife, and my wife is really upset with me because she's only 16, and what I was asking is unreasonable and this has never happened before, so again, I'm being unreasonable and that I should have talked to her first because this could have been a learning experience. She also said I was completely out of line as well. I'm really not worried about a learning experience, but I am worried about the fact that my children are cared for properly. Am I the asshole? I might be misunderstanding this, but it almost sounds like you hired a 16-year-old who is currently going through high school to work as a night shift babysitter, and you're upset with them for sleeping. Please keep in mind, the 16-year-old, by all measures, is also a child. They are still learning through a lot of stuff. They've got a lot of screws they've got to tighten up, and I don't know. If you need to have a proper night sitter, hire a proper night sitter. You can't put this kind of expectation on a 16-year-old and expect everything to be perfect because they're 16. The fact alone that they're taking this kind of time is actually pretty incredible. You better be paying them really well for this kind of stuff, man. If you have these kind of expectations for a 16-year-old, just hire someone who knows what they're doing. Because to me, it sounds like you're taking advantage of a 16-year-old who you know is going to be cheaper labor, but then also berating them and insulting them because they passed out during the night while watching 3 children. They're probably exhausted, man. I might be totally wrong in my assessment here, and I would really love to hear some secondary input on this one because in my opinion, I think the guy needs to hire a professional. He works in the medical field. He should have the money for it. And if he and his wife are going to have 3 kids while they're all working night shifts, they need to be able to put the resources forward to hire a night nanny and not just some teenager who's still in high school. You guys chose to have these children. Take care of them properly. Silly Emu 9279. Am I the asshole for saying, just leave at my cookout? My sister Nicole, 34, brought her new boyfriend, Steven, to our family cookout yesterday. It's for about 30 people. For the sides, everyone brought in sides. My sister brought 1 bag of store-brand potato chips, and Steve helped himself to a beer right away before being introduced to everyone. We're having hamburgers and hot dogs and just hanging out with the family. It's nothing fancy. Steve asks, "Is this it?" when the first plate of hot dogs is done and waiting on the round of hamburgers. My wife says there will be hamburgers soon, and Steve tells my wife and sister about his family and how they have barbecue chicken, steak, shrimp, and many options. I picked up the plate of hot dogs and told Steve he could leave and go to his family barbecue instead. He just looked at me and drank his beer, and I told him and my sister to go, since this wasn't good enough for Steve. I gave my sister the store-brand potato chips back and told her to get out. My sister and Steve left, and the cookout was fine after that. My mom heard about me kicking them out and was mad at me, and told me to apologize to my sister. Maybe there was a misunderstanding, but Steve was just an asshole commenting like that at someone's house, and the first time you meet their family. My wife thinks I was in the right because Steve acted like that in her home, and insulting the host is a good reason to be kicked out. Others are split about 50-50 when they heard about what happened. I do think that it may have been a bit brash to just immediately jump to kicking him out, but what he did was most certainly an asshole move just to show up and pretty much just insult you right out the bat with, "Is that it?" Followed by listing how much better he and his family do it in comparison to you. That's just shitty behavior. That's just gross one-upsmanship. If that's what he wants, he can go make it at home. he was invited to a cookout and he should just enjoy what's put in front of him because it's a cookout. He doesn't have to do shit. You're the one grilling. He just gets to scoop his plate up, drink beer, and talk with people. Instead, he decided to pretty much play one-upsmanship for some reason. I do think, however, you were in the right to kick him out because he was being an asshole about things, and you do have a right to pretty much be like, nah, I don't want to serve you. Get the hell out. But because it was a family event, there's a couple of different norms in place, and I can kind of understand that. But personally, I probably would have just kept him at an arm's length for the entire night and just tolerated him. And, he's gonna act like that. He's dating a member of the family. Gotta respect him. But at the same time, he's not respecting me. So he just gets the, I'm gonna tolerate you treatment. And if anyone asks, I'll tell them what happened. And if he wants to apologize, maybe we can get off on a better foot. But until then, I don't know. Arm's length. How are y'all feeling about this one? Glad Wedding 4431. Am I the asshole for not offering an open bar at my wedding? My fiance and I's wedding invitations have started arriving. Along with the invites is a few things we felt we should outline before the guests arrive to the reception. We have decided to not include an open bar. I come from an alcoholic-heavy family and simply don't feel comfortable being around people who are drinking heavily. Instead, my fiance and I have decided to have a drink ticket-like service instead. With that service, we've been able to customize how we want alcoholic beverages being handled at our reception, and the venue says this kind of service happens all the time there. It was their suggestion, in fact, so I didn't think it would be this big of a deal. With the invitations was a card, with the expectations one is to expect from the ceremony and the receptions. I didn't want to shock people when they arrived, so I figured the cards would be a nice, classy heads up for our guests. The drink service bit of the card said, essentially, that alcoholic drinks were limited to 2 per of-age guest. The tickets are non-transferable, and like the other beverages offered, would need to be ordered from your seat at your assigned table. Drinks were also to be enjoyed at your assigned table. I've been called a lot of rude things after family, both sides, and friends are receiving their cards. My fiance has as well, but a little less so. The most common being bridezilla, but I did have an uncle reach out to me and say I'm a asshole for trying to spoil the fun of a wedding reception. The response has been mostly negative and has been from all sides of the family and friends, and now my head is swirling as I try to figure out what to do. So, am I the asshole because I've set my reception up like this and am not offering an open bar instead? I think your title's misleading if I'm gonna be honest with you. The problem, in my opinion, isn't the fact that you don't have an open bar like you suggest, it's the fact that you have some pretty controlling stipulations attached to the consumption of alcohol at your wedding. It's a non-transferable process that limits people to 2 drinks, which is a pretty limiting amount, and not everyone's gonna want 1 drink, not everyone's gonna want 2 drinks. You're gonna have a mix of people who are probably gonna want 3 or 4 and some who don't want any at all. In my opinion, it feels like you're being controlling for the sake of control. And I don't even think the entirety of it is the fact there's a limit on drinks. It's also the fact that they have to order it from their table and they have to drink it at their table. There's no socializing with other guests while drinking. There's no mingling, no dancing, no enjoyment of just simply spending time with other people and relatives while being there with a nice drink in your hand. That's how some people just enjoy mingling with others. Not my personal cup of tea, but it's what people enjoy, and you're kind of just stripping that for no apparent reason. If you don't want your guests to drink, just have a dry wedding. You're kind of just teasing and edging them on at this point and being just, nuh-uh, you can't have that. Of course it's pissing people off. I really think that in a circumstance like this, either remove the limit on drinks when it comes to where they can consume it, or have a dry wedding. This is not about an open bar like you're suggesting. This is about the controlling aspect that you're putting down on your guests during your wedding. That's why you're being called a bridezilla. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on this. Let me know in the comments, because I read all of them, or at least most of them. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by Gamersups. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend Gamersups enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.